Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm giving you my 3 other movie reviews for you guys today. And that's because by the time this video comes out, I'll be probably going to see the new James Bond movie. So yeah, you can probably get that this weekend. But till then, in my last video where I reviewed Dune, Halloween Kills, and The Harder They Fall. And in this video, I'll be talking about the new DC animated film Injustice, The Conjuring 3, and Last Night in... Excuse me. Something caught my throat. I do not have COVID. Injustice, The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It, and the Last Night in Soho. So let's start off with Injustice, because I have very little to say about this movie, because within the last few years, for me, when critiquing the films I wanted to see, is that I take my own money and I see the movies that I want to see. I'm not a professional or anything, so I watched Injustice. And it's unquestionably the worst film I've seen this year. The animation is nice and decent. I'll give this due credit. The animation is nice and decent. It's consistent for the most part, except for the violence, but I think it sticks out like a sore thumb. What else was I going to say? The pretty animation, the voice cast was mostly good. In my opinion, they're overall somewhat bland, but I could see for someone else who hasn't really seen much of these except for this film, for someone enjoying it, and the action itself is actually not half bad. But for the most part, this DC animated film was entirely separate from the new DC animated films like last year's Superman, Man of Tomorrow, this year's Batman Song of the Dragon, this year's Justice Society World War II, and Batman Along Halloween Part 1 and 2, which are certainly undeniably for me part of my favorite films this year. But this year's Injustice film really does not understand the creativity, the mindset, or importance of this source material, because it's based off the 2013, actually it's a prequel for what I've heard, for the Injustice Gods Among Us 2013 video game, which I'll be honest, I haven't played, which is a shame because, as you guys know, well, I am a DC fan after all. But what really makes this film really not work is that it does not understand the importance of the weight of its material. It doesn't know how important the source material is. It just plays out in a matter-of-fact way, which kind of loses me as an audience member and as a fan, as someone who knows a comic well, but doesn't really know the video. And what I really didn't, and overall, for me, it just never really worked. It never really felt like the violence feels like an afterthought. It felt really lazy. The way it looked like aesthetically on contrast with the animation just felt like an afterthought. It looked lazy. It looked really bad. There's no real sense of heart or creativity to this film. It felt like, oh, how about this idea for the DC animated film? And they were like, sure, we can do this in 6-8 months? Okay, let's do this. Like, you can't watch this film and compare it to the other DC animated film greats. Could you compare it to, Under the Red Hood, or Batman Under the Red Hood, or Dark Knight Returns, or Wonder Woman 2009, or my personal favorite, Superman vs. the Elites? No way. It can't. It doesn't understand the weight or the importance of the subject material. It loses that importance of why Superman, of how the Joker, in this alternate world, how the Joker manipulated Superman in such a way. It sucks. It's the only film this year that I deeply regret watching. And for me, it just kind of doesn't work. So, yeah, I want to forget this film. I don't like it at all. Overall, it sucks. So going from that film to The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. Or it's just The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. And I don't want to sound lazy here, but I can't help but say this. Here's what I want you to do. Go back to watch my other video before, and everything I say about Halloween Kills applies to this film. I knew what I was getting into. It doesn't really have the same creativity nor the same heart as, what James Wan had for the first film. Because this film is directed by Michael Chaves, and even though it's adapting a story from Ed and Lorraine Warren as one of their last cases, as they take on this convict who basically has been sentenced to death back in the 70s, or I think it was the late 80s, I believe. The film just kind of meanders, just nothing really creative or impactful from the story. Like, as I said, for Halloween Kills, again, don't want to sound lazy, but everything applies for that film applies to this film. The performances are not bad, they're fine, they're serviceable. But then again, I was the only one among my friends who was watching this on Halloween night, and I was probably the only person who actually kind of cared. But even then, by the end of the film, I was like, we could just watch the first one again, because, nothing about the film felt important, or it didn't understand the weight of its material. The creativity, the set designs, the dialogue, the character interactions, it felt like it's been there and done that. Like, I understand it with Ed Lorraine Warren, played by, oh my gosh, I should know it, Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. That's it. Because they do have really a good chemistry together, and we said it before. But the new cast doesn't really leave that much of an impression, except for the girlfriend of the main person that they're focusing on. I thought she was really good in the movie. Like, everything about this movie, the screen's serviceable. It was just there. Nothing really of importance or effect happened. Like, yes, they saved this person's life. He didn't end up going. He did go to a jail, but you saw a bunch of drama that happens there, and the exorcism parts and everything. But it involves this weird type of cult member who's connected with, like, the devil. And here's the thing, I get that, but it felt so cheesy and less of quality. Something about it felt off. I can't decipher what it is. And considering the fact that I'm not a professional critic, that may be the reason why. But overall, The Conjuring 3, Devil Made Me Do It, it's just okay. Injustice, in my opinion, gets a D+. The Conjuring 3 gets a C+, and now The Last Night in Soho. Or Last Night in Soho. And in Last Night in Soho was the newest film from Edgar Wright, which I'm a big fan of because I'm a huge fan of the Cornetto trilogy and Baby Driver. I love those films. I'm probably one of a few people out there who does not love Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. But in this movie, basically, it's like this girl from the countryside of London goes downtown to London, and basically she wants to fulfill her life becoming a costume designer and being, fulfilling her sense of purpose and what she's good at, and go after her dream like her mom did. But then she finds a place, and then time she goes to sleep. She ends up in the 60s, back in the 60s era, which she's very nostalgic for. And it shows that the contrasting era of style and the aesthetic and the cinematography and everything, this kind of has a nice little 60s panache and a distinctive warmth. These blues and oranges and greens and reds are super nice and vibrant. I think this movie really stands strong for a sense of pace, structure, and performances, and really knows how to do it through its incredible sense of style. And I think that's something that Edgar Wright has slowly but surely understood throughout all of his films. And yet, it still feels like his most mature, because if he's trying to break up his very fast, very quippy, funny, tightly edited films like Hot Fuzz and like Hot Fuzz and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, where those are films that are like the most evident of his style, then this is kind of like a breakaway from that. It's much more longer, breathes more, allows more character development. Well, I'm not saying the other films don't have that, but this film really takes a certain brisker pace getting into the film. And for someone like my age and my certain enjoyment of other genres, I was going into some like first 30 minutes were like, what am I in for? Like, I really got no clue what I'm watching, and I'm just like, I didn't know if this is for me or not. But at some point, the film's sense of tone, and one from this girl's wide-eyed perspective of London, and then it changing to this nightmare of being chased by Doctor Who's Matt Smith back in the 60s, and it shows this great contrasting era perspective of how in the era is both defined by strengths and its weaknesses and its iconography, and it's one of the most submersive, clever, and uniquer films of the year for that for me. Its sense of visual aesthetic is great. I love the visual approaches. I do think, in my own opinion, I do think the beginning 30 minutes are both a strength and weakness of the film, because I do appreciate how unique it was, and how breakneck and how different it was from Edgar's previous material, and this being a more psychological thriller, and this twist is great. But in the end, the twist at the end of the film makes total sense, and in retrospective, it really kind of clicks everything together. But on the other hand, I don't know if I could really put myself through the first 30 minutes again, because I'm just like, I got no clue what I'm going through, but it makes you more interested in the characters and the main girl's performances. And the main lead of this movie, who's not Anya Taylor-Joy back in the 60s, I forgot her name, she's from Jojo Rabbit, and she's excellent in this one. She's really, really good. And overall, I just found myself really kind of bewildered, amused, and really, really kind of beside myself. Even though I saw something with friends, I was just like, oh wow, like I felt like Edgar Wright was just trying to break form and do more of a horror movie, more of a psychological horror movie, which I think worked. But it's definitely one of the more unique films of his. And overall, I thought Last Night in Soho is probably one of the more uniquer and submersive films of the year, in my opinion, and for all these strong reasons because of the script and its pacing and its cinematography, which is top-notch. The cinematography in this movie is superb, and it serves a purpose to globalize this in an era of perspective that we all have. Like for me, back in the 2000s, defined by its pros and cons. And in the end, yeah, I found myself really damn digging about this film. And the last 40 minutes of this movie are, my chest, my heart was just, I felt like it was going to explode, I know I picked a kind of a small shirt because but anyway, overall, Last Night in Soho was deeply surprising, smart, and well-paced. And I do think it kind of suffers for that in certain parts, including the beginning, but overall, Last Night in Soho is more than what it exists. It's so much more than what it delivers. And I'm gonna give this film an A-. Overall, I thought this movie was really good. Hell yeah. Please check it out, and thank you for watching, everyone. And like always, thank you for watching. Cheers. It sucked. Absolutely sucked. I rushed that. Till then, peace out.